Hello everyone, this is Professor Kent. As promised, I'm recording this video for a review for test 2. So what you're going to do is you're going to load the files. Once you have loaded the files, you could do any CHA data files, CHA DAT or CHA system. Those are the two that you're going to use. And then when you're using a session date, make sure you use 0401 2020. So 04 it stands for April, 01 is my day, 2020 is the year. So once you do that, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to change your name. How you're going to change the name is you go to before you even change the name or anything, let's activate my AP first. So let's activate your AP first. How we're going to activate it? By going to Administrative Services, Data Activation, and we're going to select Proceed, and we're going to click on AP, and we're going to activate it. Once you say Next, everything is going to get activated. So what the first thing you're going to look at it, do we have all the chart of accounts? So the first thing you're going to go to your GL. Under the GL, you're going to look at if you have all the chart of accounts. If you look at it, I have all the chart of accounts. The month here is 04. So if you look at it, if you click on that, it should be month of April. So if whatever you're doing, check on the instructions that are given. You make sure you are in the month of that April for this purpose, for this review. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to change your name. How do you change your name? You're going to go to your common services, double click on it, and then change your name. The name is going to be your name. So in this case, my name is Karen Kent. That will be my name, and I'm going to say save. And we're going to, if you wanted to make sure if the currency is there, the currency should be Canadian, so that is there. So I'm going to close it. And now everything will be done in my accounts payable. So once the first thing you wanted to do is in the accounts payable is you're going to do a setup. The first one is your option. They're saying to leave everything blank. The only thing you're going to do is you're going to enter a bank code. The bank code is already set it up for you. You just have to select it. Nothing else needs to be changed here. So we're going to close it. The next one is we're going to create an account set. My account set is the Ontario, and it is for your Ontario vendors. Here you're going to select the accounts. Your payable account, first one is your payable. You're going to select your accounts payable. The next one is purchase discount, and the question is telling you to pick up the accounts with COS. So in this case, we are going to pay CS, so COS01. So I'm just going to pick the CS01. That's what they're asking us to do. They both are going to be same, and I'm going to add it. Once you add it, you close it. Next one is your distribution code. We're going to set up two of them. The first one will be COS01, and the description of that is cost of sales. They're in the business of buying the masks, and what they do is they buy the mask and then they sell it. The GL account will be relates to the cost of sales. So let's go there. In this case, the first one is masks, so we pick up the masks, and I'm going to add it. Then we have to add a new one. The new one is COS02, and the description is cost of sales. Cost of sales, and it is for sanitizers. And the account is, again, you're going to pick what COS is. In this case, COS sanitizers, that's the one you're going to pick, and I'm going to add it. So you're done with your distribution code. Once you're done with the distribution code, you're going to go to your terms. The first term they want you to create is N30 net 30. So N30, and then what is the description is net 30, and you're going to say exclude it, and this is from the date of the invoice, and you're going to pay 100% will be paid in 30 days. That's your first one, and then you're going to click on the new, and then next one will be 210 net 30. So what you're going to do with 2%, and 2% if you pay within 10 days. Otherwise you have to pay net amount is due in 30 days. Again, you want to calculate the discount, exclude it, and the first one is you're going to pay 100% is due within 30 days. The discount is 2%, and how many days? The 10 days. We're going to add it now. We created created your terms. So once you create your terms, the next one is to go to the vendor. Your first vendor group that they want you to create is Ontario. So ONT for Ontario. What it stands for? It stands for your Ontario group. So in this case, we are going to do the group. We have to create it. So I'm just going to put it Ontario group. That's what it's going to be, Ontario group. Account set will be Ontario. If you look at the finder, just pick the finder. You could pick either one, and then we might need to adjust it according to that vendor. So I'm just going to pick a net 30, and then bank will be your RBC. Your payment code is going to be your check. In this case, invoicing, when they say invoicing, they want you to pick up a distribution code. In this case, you're going to select by distribution code, and then you're going to select the code. In this case, they told you to do COS01. And then here you're going to have a warning. You're going to get a warning because we wanted to, if we're duplicating an invoice, we wanted them to tell us that we're making a mistake or we're duplicating. In this case, I am going to add it. Next, what we have to do is we are going to create a vendor. So you will be asked to create more than one vendor in the test. In this case, our first vendor is 1000. The name of the vendor is your last name, PPE Supplies Limited. That's what it's going to be. Limited. So now the next one is the group code. You're going to do a finder and do it. This is where the business number goes. So we're going to leave that blank. If there's an address that they told you, you put it in the address. In this case, they did not tell us the legal name. They want you to put it as same. So in this case, it will be Kent PPE Supplies Limited. That's what the name is going to be. So in this case, the next is contact. Who should we contact? Processing will be, they want you to, this is the base that we already did. In this case, if nothing changes, you leave it blank. The only thing change here was $10,000 here. So I am going to change it. In this case, there's nothing under the, actually there is something under the invoicing. It's already done. And then everything is there. The tax is there. The statistic field and comment field is going to become alive when we add it. So if they become alive, so we're done with creating a vendor. Now we want to do is we wanted to change. What do we wanted to change? We wanted to change our session date here because we wanted to do transaction for the month of April, and we wanted to change the session date. The way to change the session date, sometimes we get an error message with this file, but let's cross our finger that we don't get an error message. How do we change the session date? By closing the company, and then we reopen the company, and then what we're doing is we say admin, and then in this case we just changing the date. In this case it's April 30th. That's what we're going to do, and I'm going to say okay. It seems like it is giving us an error message. I'm just going to leave it there the way it is because in this case, the file that I am giving it to you, I tested it. It is not giving us an error message. So I don't know why it is giving us an error message. See, saying session date is not valid. 01 04 2020. I'm just going to show you how to do the transaction with the same date, but seems like the file had a little issue with this one, but let's not worry about that. Oh, come on. Okay, if it doesn't let you advance it, don't worry about it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to close it and I'm going to open it again to get it to work. It should work with that. So let's do it one more time. I hope I don't have to go back and do the recording again. I'm just going to give it a try, and you could in when you're doing it for the test purpose, you will not have this issue. For some reason, we are having some problems with this file. 01 2020. I'm just going to put it as, no, sorry, the other way around. We are going to do month, day, and year. So month is 04. I'm just going to do it. 1 month is 04 01 2020. So let's do that. The file is there. I'm going to try it one more to advance the date. So I'm going to close the company. Hopefully it will work. Let's try one more time. In this case, we are going to change it to April 30th, and I'm going to say okay. See, saying session date is not valid. So let's just continue this with the date that we had before, and we could do the transactions. It still will let you do the transactions. So I'm going to create my transactions. I'm going to create my invoice, and that invoice batch will be, we're creating an invoice batch. In this case, when are you creating this invoice batch? You're creating it on Okay, so seems like it's not letting me what I want to do, but I wouldn't worry about the date. The all you needed to do is the batch date. Let's see if it lets me go to my. It was working before for some reason. When I went in and then it did something. Yes, I'm just going to accept that date. So in this case, it's saying it's not acceptable date, but I want this date. So in this case, the first one is we're doing an invoices. So it is an invoices batch. In this case, we are selling it to who are we selling it? We wanted to know. We sell it to myself. That's our vendor. In this case, what we're gonna do is you're gonna control V, and you can just do it in to this person, and the other one you're gonna do it. It's an invoice. In this case, you could have a debit memo, credit memo, but it's an invoice. In this case, the document is the document date is your 12 invoice number, which is your 1251, and the distribution code, it is not given to us, but we know that what we are doing is we're selling masks, and in this case we're selling 2,000 masks at $2,000, and that's our first one. The second one is we're selling, in this case is we're selling the sanitizers too, and how many sanitizers we're doing. In this case, we are doing sanitizers 100 at 150, which is going to give you I'll just do forward it here. So I just have to select it one more time because I just erased it. Select it, it's going to come up again. So this is going to be 150. So we already calculate the taxes. The total amount here is 4689.50. And then if you look at it, it tells you for each one how much the taxes are for the each one, and it tells you the each account. So I'm going to close it here. In this case, your undistributed amount is your document date, and here is when are we doing the invoice. In this case, we're doing the invoice on the 15th, and we're going to add it. So we're going to do the next one. Next one is not an invoice. The next one is a payment. You will go to my, let's see if it lets me post it. So I wanted to print this batch. Once you print it, you make sure your batch is to a preview. So I'm going to make it preview. I'm going to print it. And once you print it, we know that once it's printed, we will see the transaction we did, debit, it's going to come up. So if you look at it, it's just, if you look at it, these are my invoices. It automatically going to charge it to the accounts payable account. So that's what it's going to do once you post the account, once you post the batch. So what we're going to do is next, the way we're going to do is we're going to do it here. I'm going to ready to post. Yes, I'm going to post that batch. So that batch is posted. So if you look at the batch date is April 30th. Now going forward, my next batch I'm going to create is a payment batch, and that's my first batch, and I'm going to say new, and you're making a payment for the month of April. You could just call it invoice payment batch. And then here, who are you making a payment to? In this case, we're making a full payment to my name. In this case, if you look at it, you're making a payment and you're going to find a vendor. We only have one vendor here. And who are you making a payment to? In this case, it'll be my name. And then what you could do is you could print a check. I don't want to print a check. In this case, they told us that we wanted you to assign a number. If you're assigning a number, the number of the check number is 1251. No, the invoice number is 1251. The check number is 1001. And then the reference will be, in this case, you wanted, in this case, what you wanted to do, a reference will be who are you making a payment to and which invoice you're making a payment to. In this case, we're making it 1251. That will be the invoice we're paying. So if it doesn't come up here, you're going to press the go button. If the batch has to be posted first in order for you to have it here. In this case, I am going to make it as a yes. Once you do a yes, what you're going to do is it is automatically going to make the payment. So I'm going to add it. If you look at it at the top, it changed to the date that we wanted. In this case, if I can go back here too, I can, if you make a mistake with the dates, what you could do is, since we haven't posted it, the date should be April 25th. I'm going to go to April 25th, and I'm going to make that date. You're going to get a message saying that, are you sure your rate, the date is different? I know that because we made there was a problem with the file itself, but I guarantee you the file that I'm going to give you for the test, there is no mistakes. So I'm going to save this. And the next one, I wanted to pay an office rent. When you do that, you're going to create a new, and who are you making the office payment to? ABC landlord. So if you're making a payment to landlord, so in this case, it is making a payment. The question will tell you if you're making a prepayment or you're making an invoice. So it will tell you what you're making in a prepayment to. In this case, we're making a miscellaneous payment. Vendor is not important when you're making a miscellaneous payment. In this case, Control C. Who are you making a payment to? ABC. I don't want to print the check because I already have a check number. In this case, the check number is 002. The reference will be who we're making a payment to, ABC, and what it is for April rent. So we're making a payment to April the rent. And then you're going to go to the tax group. We know it's an Ontario, and they're saying that you have changed the tax group of this document. Yes, we know that because we wanted to charge it to the Ontario. So in this case, we might not have a distribution code. The reason why we don't have it, we're charging it to the rent expense. So in this case, we only have a one rent expense account, but you could be asked to split it rent expense to different divisions. In this case, the amount is $1,000, and we know that the invoice number, in this case, they told us the invoice number. If they don't tell us the invoice number, we can just say rent for the month of April. That's what we are doing. And if you look at it, the payment amount, it automatically comes with a discount. So the next one is we're purchasing something. So what are we purchasing here? We're purchasing an office equipment. So I am going to add this. Then the next thing you're going to do is purchase an office equipment. Where are you purchasing it from? You're purchasing it from Home Depot. And then the invoice number, in this case, it's from a Home Depot. And you're making a, in this case, we're making a, you could do a miscellaneous payment or we could do a prepayment. In this case, we are going to call this a miscellaneous payments because we're just making a, it's not something if you're buying, if sometimes what happens is if you pay within 10 days, you get a discount. In this case, it's a miscellaneous payment. You're going to correct the vendor. We didn't create a vendor. So it is for a Home Depot. In this case, we are going to collect on V. The reference will be this and with an invoice number. So invoice number here is your 1939. I can ask you to create a prepayment. I can ask you to do something. If it's a prepayment has to be for some invoice or something. So you have to create an invoice first before you could create a prepayment in this. In other words, your invoice bet has to be posted in order to do any prepayments or any miscellaneous any payments for the invoices. In this case, they are saying it where we purchase. What did we purchase? We purchase an office equipment. If you purchase an office equipment, if we don't have an account, we only have a furniture account. If you don't have an account, what you're going to do is you're going to minimize this and you're going to go to your chart of accounts and you're going to create an account. You are going to create an account. In this case, my account will be, I'm going to create an account here. The account number will be, let's say 1501. The name of the account is you purchase an office equipment. And it is my equipment. And this is your ACC account because it is your balance sheet account. If it was a division account, if it was an income statement account, this will be a division, so or a department. So that's what it means. It's a balance sheet and it has a debit balance. The group is your fixed assets. So this is my fixed asset. So we're going to select it. I'm going to add it. We're going to close it. And so now we're going to open the window again, and I'm going to select the account I just created, which is your 1501. So that's for office equipment. I'm going to select it. The amount is going to be, $3,200, and they're saying there's an HST with it. If there's an HST, I wanted the system to calculate it. It's giving you a warning. Is that correct? And yes, it is correct. So in this case, this is my taxes on it. The reference could also be your invoice number. You could do it. Not the amount. Amount was 3,200. So the reference could be the invoice number. I'm just saying it. So in this case, you wanted to make sure the amount is correct, and then to make sure your your tax amount is calculated right. The system is calculating, you're not just entering it. So when you look at the distribute amount, cannot in other words, there's no amount to be distributed, so we know that everything is correct. So what I'm going to do is, what is the date? The date of this is April 30th. It's going to give you that message. Don't worry about that message. You're not going to get that message for the test purpose. Yes. And then we're going to add it. Invoice cannot be left blank. Where is my invoice number? The invoice number they told us is 1939. So I'm done with it. I add it. So these are some of the transactions you have to do. I could ask you maybe one or two more. Maybe I'll ask you a prepayment or a debit memo, which you already know how to do it. I'm going to close it. And once I close it, what we're going to do is I'm going to print the following. So in this case, I'm gonna print this batch. Once you printed it, you have 3 transactions. I have done creating the 3 transactions. I'm gonna print it. My system is a little bit slow today, but I wouldn't worry about it. I'm sure your system will be. So we did 3 transactions, so that's what we did. So you can export this report, but we don't need to worry about it. I'm going to close it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it ready. Okay. And then once ready to post. So in this case, if you get this message, you must print all the checks in batch in order for to make it ready. So how I'm going to do is I'm going to print all the batches. So let's the checks. So I needed to print all the checks. So in this case, I'm going to say print and post. It will go to the checks. In this case, you could have a check report. In this case, this is the system comes up with it. It's a bank check report. If you want to select this one, you could do that. If you don't want to select this one, you could select the one we did before, which one was BK 11. So I like to use that report, but let's do that. Let's just select that one for now. We can say that we are going to print it. So once it's printed, it'll automatically print it. So in this case, these are some of the parameters. I'm going to leave them because our bank isn't set up. So all we needed to do is your checks are printed successfully. I don't want you to print them because they're just saying it that they printed successfully. And then if you pick up the report that I showed you, the 11, you will actually see the checks, but we don't want you to do anything with the checks. So I printed it, and then if you look at it, we posted that report. I'm going to close it. So once you have done that, the next step is to make your bank account. They're saying that go to the bank account and make them the control account. So that's what we're going to want to do is you're going to go to your chart of accounts. You're going to go to your bank account, and how to make a control account. You're going to select on the control account. You're going to create a sub ledger. Now here you're only going to do, you could do 2 if you don't want to do 3, because you will be asked in the next module, you'll be asked to do AR. In this case, you could pick up any AP. So I'm going to pick up the first one, and if you want to go to the next one, again, you're going to do fin delete to go to the next one. And then you could also pick up a BK. So if you are looking at the BK, you could pick up any BK. Doesn't have to be, you could pick up any BK. So we're going to select a BK, and I am going to save it. And then the next one is they said to connect, make the accounts payable ledger to be accounts payable. I wanted to go to save it, and I'm going to look for my next one. My next one is my accounts payable. And then what you wanted to do is you wanted to make them the control account. So I'm going to make this a control account, and where you wanted to connect it, you wanted to connect it to your AP. Any AP you wanted to connect it. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to close it. and I'm going to close this. You have done that step, and for the test there will be one more things you have to do, that you have to learn it from after you finish doing chapter 14. If you do chapter 14, you will not have problem with the next one. That is sort of a bonus mark, so I'm going to give it to you if you do that. So in this case, I'm going to go to my GL. I'm going to go to my GL transactions. If I go to my batch list, what we have is we have two batches that we just created it, and the first batch was posted originally. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go to each one. I'm going to make it ready, and then I'm going to post that one. We posted it, close. I'm going to go to next one. I'm going to make it ready, and I'm going to post it, and that's there. So there is no mistakes here now. The only time you could get a mistake is if the date is incorrect. So in this case, I created the batch in April, and I accepted the message that I was getting it. So for the test purpose, you will not have any problem. The next part of the question is asking you to print the report. So let's print the report. The first is to do a distribution report. In this case, you're going to go to your transaction reports. This is the vendor reports. So there's different type of a report. So you have a vendor reports, you have transaction reports, and you have a setup reports. The first one, you could go to the setup. It doesn't have to be in this order. The first one, we want you to do a distribution report, and you're going to print it. Once you print it, you have to export it, and you have to name it. So these are the two of them. You're going to export it and save it. So that's my first one. The next one was your close it. I could ask you to do option reports. If you do the option, you're going to print it, and then you're going to save it. The other one, these are the reports that I'm going to be asking you to print them for the test purpose. The next one could be account set. You print it and do the way these are the ones. So these are the ones that you are going to do. So the next thing I could ask you to do is you are going to be doing the transaction report. When you're doing the transaction reports, I do not want you to print the batch listing. You should be printing the post listing. So when you're doing post listing, you double click on the post listing. First, you're going to click on the invoice, then you're going to click on the payments. So first, let's do it in the invoice. I'm going to print all the invoices. So we only had a one batch for the invoices, and we only have a one batch for the payments. So these are my invoices. So we have two sales, one type of transaction with two sales in it. The next one, I want you to go into payments, and you're going to print the payments. So these are for my payments. So I have done that. So in this case, I'm going to close it. The other thing, I'm going to be asking you to print a check register. The check register is here. So in this case, they want you to print it. So we printed 3 checks. So let's see if it shows me the checks. Now, if you look at it, I have done 3 checks. First one is miscellaneous. This is for your purchase invoice, and I'm going to be asking you to do a check register. And then this is your check register. So that's what is called the check register. It will be in here. The other thing, we could ask you to create a trial balance, printed trial balance. You're going to double click on the trial balance, and then this case is we will ask you when we want you to print it for. In this case, we want you to print it for April, and you're going to say print, and then it's going to give you print, and then you have a balance. In this case, you have a debits and a credits, and then this is your net income for the company, 5150. You should be getting the same number as me. The other thing, I can ask you to print the vendor reports. You could ask the vendors. In this case, when I ask you to vendor, make sure the profile is clicked in, and you could print that. Nothing else needs to, you don't need to remember anything else. Everything else is, there's only one thing that I did not do it here, that you could have it, is the bonus marks, that you have to learn how to do it by completing chapter 14. So that is completing chapter 14. So what I'm going to do is, you could now you have done everything, you could back up your file, but we don't need to do a backup, so you make sure your dates are correct. I'm going to go back into to show you your batch again, the dates on the batch. So I'm going to go to the transaction. If you go to your batch list, if I were to double click on this, if you look at, I'm just going to, you could see it too. You make sure your batch date is end of April, and then your transaction is whenever the date is on the invoice. And then if I go to my payment batch, I have a payment batch, and if I double click on it, you could I'm going to double click it. You could create the batch within month of April, but when you're going to, make sure you click on the calendar when you're doing the date. So that's what you should do. But for the purpose of a test, I'm going to kind of give you the month of January, so that we don't have any problems when we're doing it the month of January. It'll be 0101. That's it for the lesson. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope this helped you. Good luck with your exam on Tuesday, and I will see you in the class on Tuesday. Thank you so much for listening to me.